Commerce Alive Today presents
Big Bear Stores. In the year 1933, Wayne E. Brown founded Big Bear Stores in Columbus, Ohio. The first supermarket in the Midwest, Big Bear was located in a former skating rink. At 47,000 square feet, it was huge by contemporary standards. Shoppers liked the variety such a store could offer, with the butcher, baker and grocer located in one place. Big Bear likely pioneered the idea of one-stop shopping. Its premier store included a drugstore, restaurant, candy department and shoe repair store in addition to foodstuffs. In the heart of the Depression, homemakers welcomed the low prices made possible by the store's bulk purchases. Moreover, items were attractively displayed so that the customer could pick them off the shelves without the help of a clerk. Traditional store owners disparaged the supermarket concept, believing that customers would steal more than they would buy if given free access to the shelves. Although shoplifting did become a significant problem for supermarkets, the concept of do-it-yourself shopping was here to stay. Big Bear drew 200,000 people on its opening day, and the company opened up its second store in a Columbus piano factory just 1 year later. From the start, Big Bear utilized print and radio advertising as well as in-store promotions. In 1936, shoppers could win $5 to $25 by mixing 6 words with Big Bear and low prices to create a store slogan. In 1937, Brown and other supermarket owners formed the Supermarket Institute, a professional association for supermarket operators. Through the association, the stores were able to develop and share concepts and conveniences such as motorized checkout counters, wire shopping carts, automatic exit doors, fluorescent lighting, bakeries, and other in-store departments. During the 1940s, the company went public and continued to grow by building new stores. It also bought out and merged with Miller Stores Company in 1943. In 1948, Big Bear joined with other supermarkets to form Topco Associates. Located in Skokie, Illinois, the corporation employed scientists and researchers to develop and acquire products for distribution. In 1954, Big Bear purchased Hart's Discount Stores, which operated stores in Lexington, Kentucky, and Evansville, Indiana. In addition to operating the chain, the company drew upon the Hart's merchandise to increase the mix of non-grocery items in the Big Bear stores. By 1956, Big Bear operated 21 supermarkets in Ohio cities with sales of over $50 million, and became a trendsetter in supermarket design. The chain introduced a widely imitated layout in which the perishable departments were located in the middle of the store, with low display fixtures to highlight them, while the store overall was painted in a spectrum of pastel colors. Big Bear was also the first in the nation to use the new IBM 305 Rimac accounting machine. In 1957, Big Bear built its first stores outside of Ohio, in West Virginia. The company also operated a trading stamp subsidiary. Like most grocery stores, Big Bear awarded customers a number of stamps depending on how much money they spent. The stamps could then be redeemed for a variety of items. The popularity of the stamps declined throughout the industry, however, dropping off sharply in the late 1960s until the practice disappeared altogether by the late 1970s. Keeping in step with the industry, Big Bear continued to grow steadily. During the 1960s, the chain increased by a few stores per year, doubling its size by the end of the decade. The company was taken private in 1973, the same year its founder Brown retired. Brown, who was ill, owned 20% of the company's shares and held voting control through another class of stock. With his cooperation, the chain was purchased through a leveraged buyout by Oppenheimer Partners New York, which then became Odyssey Partners. Approximately $50 million in equity was purchased from shareholders. A great deal of debt was assumed, but no holdings were sold to pay it off. All debt was scheduled to be repaid by 1991. The company remained intact and management was not changed. At that time, Michael Nylans, who had joined the company as a bag boy in 1942, assumed the presidency. Larger chains such as A&P, Pick and Pay, and Fisher Foods opened in Columbus during the 1970s and early 1980s, but were driven out while Big Bear maintained its hold on 30% of the Columbus market. Continuing its pattern of slow and steady growth, from 1976 to 1981, Big Bear built 10 Big Bear stores and 1 warehouse market. It opened 3 warehouse stores and 2 limited assortment outlets in existing buildings. By 1981, the chain consisted of 58 Big Bear supermarkets, 4 grocery warehouses, and 2 box stores. By the 1980s, the chain had developed a variety of store styles suited to various communities. For scattered populations, there was the combination Hart's Family Center/Big Bear stores. Warehouse stores fared better in small cities, while middle-income areas still required conventional supermarkets. The conventional stores ranged from 32,000 to 42,000 feet and included scratch bakeries and complete delis, with stock varying according to the needs of the community where the unit was located. This size unit continued to make up the majority of Big Bear stores built since the 1980s. In 1981, in response to the growing white-collar suburbs north of Columbus, the company introduced the more cosmopolitan Great Big Bear. At 42,000 feet, it carried almost 20,000 items and was aimed at the upper-middle-class consumer, offering such specialty products as fresh scallops, imported cheeses and a natural food boutique. The first unit's opening day featuring a Miss America runner-up, a talking robot, and 110-year-old lobster attracted 5,000 people. The store quickly became one of the highest volume markets in the Columbus area, reaching $300,000 a week in sales, and cutting into the sales of area natural food stores. With 63 stores and 27 Hart's discount department stores, the company had earned $8.6 million in fiscal year 1982 on sales of $652 million. In 1983, the company went public for the second time. In order to fund expansion in the remodeling of older units, Big Bear offered 1.75 million common shares, with the current holders offering about 25% of their stock for sale. In 1985, Big Bear had sales of $650 million and Forbes ranked it number 1 among 27 regional supermarkets chains in return on equity, an important factor in profitability. The next year, Cub Foods entered the Columbus market. That store had pushed under competitors in other markets with its low prices and warehouse style. Instead of trying to beat Cub at its own game, Big Bear capitalized on its competitors' weaknesses. The company stepped up customer services at the store, which would compete with the Cub unit, doubling employees there to 155. The newly remodeled store was able to maintain its sales, and Big Bear maintained its hold on 1/3 of the Columbus grocery market with its 27 area stores. The chain also operated 35 stores outside the Columbus area, including 7 in West Virginia and over 30 discount department stores. In fiscal 1988, the company had a net income of $16.3 million on sales of $930 million. With no national competitors in their market areas, Big Bear was fiscally healthy and well managed when Penn Traffic Company, which already operated several regional grocery chains, moved in on it. In December 1988, Penn had acquired a 14.5% stake in the Coming, for about $45 million through a privately negotiated transaction with Value Equity Associates ILP of New York. With the financial backing of Salomon Brothers, Penn offered to purchase the remaining shares at $35 a share, or about $296 million altogether. Big Bear rejected the offer and adopted a shareholder rights plan in an effort to deter the unwanted takeover, which could cause loss to the company's current stockholders. The company retained Goldman Sachs & Company as a financial advisor, in order to buy time to review the situation and develop alternatives. Despite the company's efforts, Penn was able to purchase the chain in 1989. However, the price was raised to $38.60 a share, or a total of $290 million. At that time, Nylund's retired and John E. Josephson, formerly Senior Vice President of Finance and CFO of Penn Traffic, stepped into the presidency. Heading into the 1990s, Big Bear continued its time-tested strategy of slow expansion through stores tailored to the surrounding community. The newest trend was toward larger stores with even more mixture between general merchandise and traditional supermarket fare. In 1992, there were 11 Big Bear Plus stores, a format created by tearing down the wall in complexes where Hart's and Big Bear had operated side by side. In 1993, Big Bear built a store in Grove City, Ohio, which was their largest to date at 52,000 square feet of selling floor. Yet the company planned to build a store twice that size, around 120,000 square feet. The new design clustered perishable goods in the front of the store, hoping to tempt shoppers as soon as they entered. This power aisle included a service deli, bakery, and produce, seafood and meat departments. The new bakery included a $20,000 machine which scanned photographs and reproduced them on cake with food coloring. The rest of the perimeter included dairy, soft drinks, a walk-through beer cooler, frozen food, a full-service band and a flower shop. As for the rest of the store, groceries and the pharmacy were located in the center, along with a huge variety of non-food items, including clothing, stationery, craft items and picture frames, calculators, cameras, compact discs, sporting goods, toys and appliances such as coffee makers, toasters and handheld vacuums. The non-food items were integrated with food items. For instance, toys were possibly placed next to cold cereal. Altogether, the new store offered 80,000 different items. In 1993, after 30 stores participated in a year-long Nielsen study on the effectiveness of the system, Big Bear decided to extend the Vision Value Network to all 71 of its stores. The network provided a touch-sensitive screen offering instant discounts, and terminals were placed at the check-writing stand of checkout counters. The machine also produced paper coupons and handled credit and debit card transactions. Big Bear planned to use the system to promote its private label goods and in-store departments, as well as promote the major brands which were already hooked into the network. In 1993, Big Bear stores, along with P&C Food Markets of Syracuse, were merged into Penn Traffic's other retail division, RDQ. The move was made in order to give the parent flexibility. At that time, loans could be made for a single entity instead of for 3 separate ones, and legal and accounting functions were consolidated. Big Bear continued its slow but steady expansion strategy and maintained its strong regional standing heading into the late 1990s. In 1976, the company went private in a leveraged buyout by 6 company executives. Big Bear again went public in 1983. The company's success began to falter in the late 1980s with new competition from alternative formats like Cub Foods and Meijer entering its market area. Due to the increased competitive situation, the chain made the hard decision to put itself on the auction block in late 1988 after 54 years as an independent company, including periods of both public and private ownership. The large supermarket holding company Penn Traffic, which owns several regional chains, purchased Big Bear in April 1989 with an offer of $35 per share for all outstanding common stock. Penn Traffic borrowed heavily to leverage the buyout, and foisted debt on the company. In 1993, Big Bear Stores became a division of the Penn Traffic Company, and went through a series of changes in business and marketing strategies, such as moving down market, to aim at a broader segment, but alienating their wealthier clientele. One of the changes including the removal of longtime Big Bear president Stephen Breach and his leadership team. Breach's replacement, Philip Hawkins, a former Vons supermarket CEO, was promoted as a turnaround specialist. One of his first tasks was responding to reduced sales volumes at most store locations by lowering overhead costs as much as possible. As longtime Columbus area shoppers complained about declining conditions in the Columbus area stores, Hawkins and Company launched its infamous All We Did Was Listen advertising campaign in June 1997, which featured Hawkins speaking in front of Big Bear employees in a reassuring tone of voice. Hawkins' plan was to take Big Bear from its role as an upper market chain to a more competitive level by reducing overhead in store operations. As sales volumes continued to drop due to increased competition, it resulted in lower payroll costs, which caused conditions in the stores to decline. Big Bear Stores introduced a savings card at all stores on September 14, 2000, in response to the Kroger card, which was introduced a year earlier. It was known as the Big Bear Wild Card. After Penn Traffic announced that Big Bear was ceasing operations, Kroger announced that it would now honor the Big Bear Wild Cards at their stores. As the Big Bear division began to have cash flow issues in 2003, product suppliers pulled their items from store shelves as most accounts went past due. Employees within Big Bear made a joke of Hawkins and as All We Did Was Listen as hollow proof that management listened to employee and shopper concerns, but it seemed that was all they were prepared to do. By the end of Hawkins' brief tenure, Big Bear was hemorrhaging red ink and closing stores. The chain's demise was finalized in 2004 when the last Big Bear store closed its doors, following Penn Traffic's second Chapter 11 bankruptcy in a decade. Better store locations were acquired and reopened as Giant Eagle or Kroger stores. As of May 2014, many former Big Bear stores, especially in Ohio and West Virginia, remain empty.
The Big Bear team is better because they know the fundamentals of the game.
They know their options. They keep their cool. They make a good handoff. They go for the sack. And when they want to stop the other guy, they hit hard with things like low prices.
Now that's teamwork.
Save at Big Bear. Fresh frying chicken leg quarters, 29 cents a pound. Campbell's chicken noodle soup, 3 for 99 cents. And Tide Giant size laundry detergent, $1.77. Hurry to Big Bear and
give them a Big Bear hug.
If you have any fond memories, please indicate it at the comments below. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and like.